as we stream live here. Welcome, Jace. Listen, it is the conference football championship this weekend, and I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Finally, we're like one Sunday away to find out who's going to the college football playoffs.
Heck yeah, I'm excited. Big implications on the line this
Yes,
weekend.
indeed. Big implication indeed. And I tell you, with so much drama going on with college football, which is the coaching carousel, look, let's leave that all behind. Let's focus on the games. The biggest attraction right now is Georgia versus Alabama. We also got the Big Ten championship with Michigan versus Iowa. And of course, Cincinnati versus Houston for the American championship. I mean, there's so much implications. I mean, more games, and we're gonna tune in and make our prediction in there. So our goal is not only the prediction of the games, who's gonna be our final four, and then also we're gonna talk next is the Heisman hopefuls. So let's go get it on right here. Let's look at the previous winners in 2020 was Devontae Smith, and then the year before that was Burrow. I mean, these guys that you see there are the elite. And as you pay attention to the picture on the left with the four people, you have Burrows, you have Justin Fields, Hurts, and Chris Young. I mean, you have one guy that was defensive end, a pass rusher who was voted fourth for the Heisman. I mean, we could have seen more on 2020, but due to the pandemic, you only got Devontae Smith. I know Mac Jones was there; they were teammates and all. But listen, who is going to be the winner this year? Now, so far we have voted, and we voted our top one. Okay, Joe Aguirre voted, Big J's voted, and myself. And here what we came up with: Aiden Hutchinson from Jace. He is a defensive
Yep.
end from Michigan. He is truly the most valuable player in Michigan, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
Joe said Bryce Young from Alabama. I kind of disagree for after the performance that I've seen against Auburn, but he's still leaning on to Bryce Young. And then my choosing is Will Anderson, the linebacker from Alabama. He's leading the way in sacks with 14 and a half sacks. With those 14 and a half sacks, he has 49 solo tackles as a linebacker. Now, I know that's mid average compared to other linebackers that are close to a little over 80, but you're talking about a dynamic person that not only is a threat against the quarterback, but also taking charge of the middle of the field. And everyone around him is feeding off that energy. And look, he is a monster, dude. He is. And I'm all in for a defensive person to win a Heisman this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm not mad at the Will Anderson pick because I do think he'd be up there. I think he deserves some credit. I mean, Alabama, while they have struggled, he's still been doing great. But for me, when you're in a year like this year, when chaos is ensuing, there's no real anyone putting themselves head and shoulders above everyone else. I look for the moments in the big games, who comes to play, and Aiden Hutchinson on the biggest stage of his career last week came in, got 3 sacks against the top offense in the country. And I mean, everything you said about Will Anderson, he is the energy on that team. Aiden Hutchinson is that for Michigan. He had a chance to leave and go to the NFL last year. He said, no, I want to come back. I want to beat Ohio State. He came back and he sacked CJ Stroud 3 times. So when we're looking for Heisman's, yeah, stats and all that stuff, but it's also about the moments. And I think Aiden Hutchinson had his Heisman moment last week.
Look, there's other guys that could be mentioned in the Heisman, like Kenneth Walker III from Michigan State. I like that guy. That guy is he's fabulous. I mean, he's second in rushing with 1,636, but he also have scored 18 rushing touchdowns. Right. The reason why I'm not a big fan of the quarterback this year is because there's only one person that's over 200 in quarterback rating, and that's no other than Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. I mean, he's been putting up the numbers. Sadly to say that he got injured. He's out for the season, but expect him to come back next season and take over that quarterback era and win the Heisman next year. I mean, that's my prediction. He had a chance this year. Again, unfortunately, the injury took him out. But because it will be great mention, he was mentioned even before the season that he was with Spencer Rattler. But you see what happened to Spencer Rattler. You seen all these quarterbacks that were supposed to be an elite that didn't perform this year, and then that's what I said. You know what? There's so much turbulence in the offense. Like one week you think that they're the right guy, and then all of a sudden they have a poor performance. As far as the defense side of the house, I won't be surprised if Hutchinson and Anderson be the 1 and 2 on the vote.
Yeah, I do. I would put as far as any offensive player, if I'm giving any offensive player a nod as like a finalist, I would say Kenneth Walker because, like I said, the moments that Michigan game, he really took over that game, and that's why they won it. But yeah, I mean, last year we had the first time a wide receiver won it in forever. Well, this year, why can't a defensive player win it? So yeah, I mean, the most dominant team in college football right now is Georgia because of their defense. Defense, I mean, we saw the last 2 years how these explosive offenses with LSU and Bama just took over. Now this is the year that defense bites back, defense fights back and takes over. So I do think it is deserving this year to give it to a defensive player. And I mean, Bryce Young, yeah, he probably is at the top of that list as far as QBs go. But like you said, I mean, he's Alabama struggled against Florida. They struggled against Arkansas, obviously Texas A&M, and then last week against Auburn. I mean, if you're coming off, you're going to be compared like you have all season. You compared him to Mac Jones. You compared him to Joe Burrow. If coming off these monster seasons by QBs, you're going to have to make a statement if you want to be on that level and get the Heisman. And no one's done that this year.
No one has done it in the offense. And again, maybe a running back will win it. Maybe it will be Walker. But I'm leaning more on the defensive end to win the Heisman this year. Which I gotta look it up to see who was if have there ever been a defensive player winning it. That's
Charles
a great
Woodson.
question. Charles Mapper, there you go, Charles Woodson. So we've seen history last year. Let's see if we can see history this year, right? But hey, speaking about history, conference championship is on the line. A lot of people question each week about how been rating the college football playoff rankings. Well, this is it. Can they put their money where their mouth is and everything else? And let's start off with our first game right now, and no other than Western Kentucky versus UTSA. UTSA was actually ranked, but they ended up losing their last game. No one's ever talked about the Conference USA, but I followed it through. Western Kentucky got one. They do have some talent there. But UTSA, they were undefeated all the way until that loss. Who you got to win this game?
I do think this is going to be a close game. I mean, just like it showed, just like the score indicated from the last time they played, I do think they're going to score some points. Bailey Zapp leading the league in passing, leading the country in passing right now for Western Kentucky. I do think it's going to be a shootout. If I'm betting the over. But I do think UTSA, they struggled last week. They got that loss against North Texas, but they have looked great since in every other game. I expect them to bounce back and get a win, but in a high scoring, lots of points affair.
All right, look, man, it's a lot of pressure for UTSA. They never been to a bowl game. I mean, bowl game, excuse me, a conference championship, right? And this level, and I'm gonna go for Western Kentucky. All right, I'm going for them. They're gonna revenge their loss, but I don't think it's gonna be 98 points. It'll be slightly less than that, but at least 42 to 35. I'm gonna say of the game. So we'll go split on this one. So I like it. I like how we're starting off already. It seemed like yesterday's show
42 to 35. That still hits over. I will say that.
Yeah, still over. Don't know what the over under is in this game. I won't be surprised if they say it's 72. But
72
hey,
and a half.
hey, I was close. I was
Yeah.
close. All right, next game. This is what really counts the most, right? Number 11 ranked Oregon versus Utah. The last meeting was 38-7 Utah over Oregon, who actually just diminished their chances of going to the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm picking Utah again to win it. I don't think you could make adjustment in a small amount of time to win the game for Oregon. So I got Utah on this one.
Yeah, I mean, last time when we talked about this game, I did a whole hoop hoop hurrah speech for Utah. Didn't really talk about the game all that much. I just talked about Utah kicking them in their quack holes, and they did. But really, the reason Utah dominated that game was their O line and D line just battling it out in the trenches. I do think it'll be closer than it won't be as big of a blowout, but I do expect Utah to win by at least 2 scores. Because that defense, I think they get after the quarterback and they protect and they're able to run the football and control the line of scrimmage. The Utes are.
All right, the Big 12 championship. This one has the college football playoff implications here with Baylor versus Oklahoma State. In their last meeting, Oklahoma State did defeat Baylor 24-14. I have a gut feeling that that defense of Oklahoma State will prevail as they stopped Oklahoma with their chances to reach the Big 12 championship. Now they have another battle with Baylor. Now, for the Big 12, sometimes when you have that rematch, it doesn't go well. And I know Oklahoma has dominated the last 6 years, but we got two brand new teams going to the Big 12 championship. I'm leaning to Oklahoma State on this one.
I mean, it's been a year of chaos, right? You talk every year, like every week, like 5 top teams went down. So I'm gonna continue the chaos here. I think Baylor gets it done. Oklahoma State, they got over their hump. They haven't beat Oklahoma in forever. They got over their hump. They've proven that they will be a staple in the Big 12 when Oklahoma leaves, and they have a chance to run the conference. But I think Baylor bounces back and avenges their loss here, and even more madness ensues with the Big 12 being kicked out of the college football playoff.
All right. All right. I like that. Houston versus Cincinnati. No respect to Cincinnati. You would think that they would have moved up in the rankings and Alabama would fall because of their last game of the series. But hey, I've been mentioning that Houston was just as good as Cincinnati. If not, they've been scoring more points than Cincinnati in the American Athletic Conference. They're both 8-0 within their conference. Yes, Houston's 11-1, but hell, you got to give credit to Houston for what they have accomplished. Yeah, their schedule was not the same as Cincinnati, but they're winning their games. It took them late in the season for them to get ranked, which is kind of a disrespect to the conference itself. But here we are, these two going at it. But I had Houston ahead of Cincinnati. I really did. But something told me that Brian Kelly leaving to LSU, knowing that Notre Dame has a chance to make it to the college football playoffs, to abandon ship just like that, I said, you know what? Wait a minute. He knows Notre Dame is not going. Therefore, I'm picking Cincinnati to win this game. Brian Kelly made me believe that.
Dang, that's interesting. No, I think Cincinnati's a team. Yeah, they struggled against they sleptwalk against some of the terrible American Conference teams, but every time they've had a big game, they've risen to the occasion, and I think matchup wise, Houston, I don't see how they're going to score. They got a stud in McCaskill as their running back. But with that air raid style offense that Dana Holgerson runs, they're going to be throwing the football. And Cincinnati has one of the best secondaries in the country. Like everyone there is going to be playing on Sundays next year. So I just don't see how they're going to get the ball past that secondary, be able to convert on big plays. They're going to have to run the football, which they've done a lot more this year than they have in the past, but that's not Houston's identity. So I expect Cincinnati to come out roaring and they get another big win. I mean, I like this score from last year. I think it will be very, very similar. I think
I
they
don't
will
think so.
dominate.
I don't think it's going to be similar, man. I think Cincinnati's going to have a slow start, knowing that the pressure is on, that it's a win and loss situation. I think they'll probably win, but I don't think they're going to blow out Houston. And I'm going to retract what I said. Houston has played better than Cincinnati this year against the same opponents. They just never crossed paths this season. Okay. And you wish I saw Houston last week in person. Yes, it was against UConn. And yes, UConn is one of the bottom. But Houston handled their business convincingly. They have the talent, they have the defense as well. I won't sleep on Houston. So don't sleep. But giving 10.5 to Houston, I think is a big much. So if I was betting, I'll bet on Houston with the spread. I would.
Cincinnati's going to dominate.
They're going to win. I don't think they're going to dominate convincingly like people think they're going to. And that's what gets a lot of people. And that's what's happening this year in college football. It's an unpredictable each week. You never know what you're going to get. And this is one of them. All right. My favorite, Georgia versus Alabama, favorite 6.5. I'm taking the 6.5 points. I'm taking more. And if I was betting, I'll say 11. You know why? Because Alabama's offense has no answer to the Georgia defense. They look garbage against Auburn. They've been looking garbage half the season, and they're gonna know what an elite defense is. And which, yes, they're full of NFL players in that defense. And I'm telling you that Will Anderson Jr. is not going to do it all by himself. And after a while, they're going to get tired at the end. Yes, that Alabama has a depth in the defense, just like they have depth in the offense. But nothing's going to change that because Georgia, who hasn't given up no more than 17 points this season, only one time, they have shut out the opponents 3 times, and 5 times they prevented the teams from scoring a touchdown. Now, I didn't even talk about the offense yet. I haven't even gone there yet. But I'm telling you this, Alabama, if they struggle against Auburn, I won't be surprised if they can't even score a touchdown against Georgia and the SEC championship. So therefore, I'm saying, and I'm telling you now, expect over 10 points over Alabama. Georgia will win and remain number 1 in the college football playoffs.
I'm with you. I'm going Georgia. The only thing that scares me here is the Alabama struggled 2 weeks in a row. If I think Nick Saban can light something under them, get them going. But I see this, even if Alabama comes out at its best, which I expect it to be, I see this being like week 1, like Georgia versus Clemson. Because I don't see that offense scoring on this Georgia defense. I do think the Alabama defense does have, might be able to stop be able to contain the Georgia offense for a little bit, but I expect Georgia to eventually break through and get a big play and that be like the only touchdown in the game. I see this being like a 10-3 like the Clemson Georgia game was. I expect it to be close, very low scoring, very, very defense heavy. But yeah, I expect Georgia to win this game.
Well, I will tell you right now, there was no offensive touchdown between Georgia and Clemson, and that was in week 1. I beg to differ for this game. If Georgia scores at least 2 touchdowns in its first half, the game is over for Alabama. Yeah. Done deal. All right, let's move on to Pittsburgh and Wake Forest. No college football playoff actions for the ACC, but this is great because it's 2 fresh teams going for the ACC championship. Yes, the only time they've met was November 17, 2018. Pittsburgh defeated Wake Forest 34-13. I see something similar to this. Pittsburgh will win and become the new ACC champion.
Yeah, I think really both with a struggling quarterback class and a lot of I think Kenny Pickett and Sam Hartman deserve to be at least in the conversation for Heisman. I do like how we both had defensive players, but I do think if you're going to put quarterbacks in there, I think both these guys deserve out of the rest of the other quarterbacks. It deserve at least to be in the conversation. But I do think Kenny Pickett just being a little bit more of a playmaker, being able to use his legs, and also that Pittsburgh defense better than that Wake Forest defense. I do expect it to be bit of a high scoring game, but I expect Pittsburgh defense to make the stops when they need to. So I'm gonna go Pitt to get it done.
All right. Uh, Big Ten championship, Michigan over I. Oh, I'm telling you what I'm thinking. Uh, this is October 15th, 2019. Michigan defeated Iowa 10-3. That was their last meet. Now they meet again, this time for the Big Ten championship. And I'm going for Michigan. I'm all in with Michigan. This is not a Michigan Purdue game. So I'm convinced Michigan, they will at least score at least a couple of touchdowns. It won't end in a 10-3 game. But I do believe that in the beginning it will be defensive. But at the end, Michigan will prevail.
All year for the majority of the year, I was chasing Michigan, waiting for that one Harbaugh slip up. And then after the Michigan State game, I turned on them and I was with them. I'm still with them. But I could see a little bit of I could see Harbaugh going back to Harbaugh, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's figured it out. This run game, this defense. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, he's my Heisman winner right now for a reason. I do think it's going to be an ugly, normal Big 12 game. I think it's just going to be eating up clock with the run left and right. But I think those drives, the more sustained drives is going to be Michigan with them. I think a lot of 3-and-outs for Iowa. I'm kind of scared if because Iowa just figures out how to get turnovers. If Michigan does throw the football a lot more than they should, I think Iowa can capitalize on some interceptions. But Michigan's going to run the football, eat up clock, eat up time of possession, and win the game and head into the college football playoff.
All right, and this show is presented by CMG Sports Podcast Network. Visit clovercrestmedia.com, and they do have a special going on. You want to check out the website to find out. So if you want to start your own website, your own podcast, by all means, go to clovercrestmedia.com. And for more news on professional wrestling, baseball, college sports, and the NFL with all our predictions and analysis, please visit hhwshow.com. And this pretty much wraps everything up. Please subscribe to our channel, the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and leave your messages. Leave you know who you got. And before we leave, we're going to make one more prediction. And that prediction is this. At the end of the conference championship, who is your top 4, Jace? You're on mute, buddy. For some reason, you put yourself on mute.
Oh, that's
Come on
bad.
back. There
I
you
have
go.
Georgia at 1, easy. Michigan at 2, pretty simple. I got Cincy at 3, and then number 4, with an interim head coach, I have Notre Dame.
I'm sorry.
Let the madness ensue. Let the chaos keep rolling, baby.
It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I agree with you for the first 3, okay? But number 4 will be Oklahoma State, okay? If Oklahoma State will lose, Notre Dame will be number 4.
You don't
but
think
Oklahoma State is going to a Big 12 champion will be number 4.
All right, but you don't think if Oklahoma State wins, they won't hop Cincy?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll finally put them at number 3 because they probably don't want that semifinal rematch with Georgia and Cincinnati, which we saw last year. And if anything, that was actually a great game last year between the two. And Georgia sneaked by and won. So you're talking about 2 good defensive people, but I just don't foresee that happening. And besides, the Battle of Ohio, what better than having Michigan go again, not only defeat Ohio State, but going to smack Cincinnati around. I mean, that'll be double the fun. I mean, that's just me. But I know if Oklahoma State's managed to win, I think they'll take number 4. Notre Dame is out.
Well, I have Oklahoma State winning, but losing. But if they win, I do think they jump Cincinnati. They have Kansas State was ranked when they played them. Texas was ranked when they played them. They obviously have Baylor and Oklahoma. You've seen this year how if anything's been consistent about the college football playoff, they love those ranked wins. So I would see them put Oklahoma State over.
Don't forget, Notre Dame was sitting at number 6, and
Yeah.
I guess for the committee, that's good enough for Cincinnati. So, but hey, stay tuned because after the conference championship, I will make another prediction in the top 25 all the way up from 1 through 25, man. You don't want to miss it on the YouTube channel. So on behalf of Jace, myself, and the rest of Clovercrest, the CMG Sports Podcast Network, thank you for watching, and let's enjoy some conference championship.
Oh, yeah.